So pets are expensive. We all know this. But they're worth it. But just because they're worth it doesn't mean that we can't try to find ways to make them a little bit less expensive. So one necessity when you own a pet, especially a cat, is their litter. We all know this. It's just something that you have to do. It's their food and their litter. And their vet bills, obviously. So what if I told you that there was a litter that is healthier for the environment, for your cats, and for your wallet? Well, I can do just that. So I'm going to get right to the point. There is pine litter. Now, it's different than your clay litter, it's different than corn, different than newspaper. This is made from wood and wood pellets. And you can get the same thing as the cat litter, but branded for horses, like as horse bedding, and you can get a 40-pound bag for $5, where to get it branded for cats, it's 3 times the price. So what is this litter? And besides money, why should you switch to it? Now, I'm still in the process of switching. So throughout this video, you're gonna see what the end result ends up being and how the cats end up liking it. Right now, I'm just starting, but so far, I love it already. So what this litter is, compared to the normal clay litter that people get, because I get this cat litter. I love clumping litter because when you have a lot of cats, it just makes life easier, and it's good dust-wise. This, for a 40-pound bag, is about $13, and I get it off of Chewy. So already this is a good price. So if you're not looking to switch, or if your pets are picky, this is a good one too. Now, clay litter was originally invented in 1947 by an H. Edward Lowe, and yes, I wrote that down on my hand because I have horrible memory. But anyways, a lot of changes have been made and a lot of advancements in health and just the science behind everything for pets have been made since then. So why are we still using the same products as before? So as much as everybody loves clay litter, and as much as I love clay litter, there are some downsides to it. One, it's mined, meaning that it's not that good for the environment. We're taking away some resources. And I don't know about you, but I go through a lot of cat litter. Because I get this 40-pound bag, we have 4 cat litters, and I completely dump them out every week. And it takes a lot of cat litter. That's only for 3 cats. With my family alone, we have 11 cats. So we have a lot of cat litters. We go through a lot of cat litter. And that's just one family alone. Now imagine all of the families. Imagine all of the clay that we're mining out, and that's just getting thrown away, and it doesn't even just go away. It just sits in a landfill. So there's that aspect, the environmental aspect, where pine litter, it's made of wood. It's a renewable resource, and a lot of times it's recycled from cedar mills. So now we move on to the health aspect of it. Clay litter, with all of the dust and with the fact that sometimes cats just ingest it, it happens. It has the risk of causing blockages in them. Now that's the case with anything. You can even worry about that with their food. But it's just another little aspect to add to this where you don't have as much of a risk with the pine litter. Cleaning aspect. While a lot of litters will do a very good job at absorbing the smell, you still smell them, and then you get little individual pieces of clay litter all over the house from your cats tracking them. Because I don't know about your cats, but when we put the mats out in front of the litters, the kittens like to play with the mat and scratch on them and then just pull them across the floor away from the litter. So it does nothing except for scatter the litter across the floor even more. Also, with clay litter, that's just, especially the clumping litter, that's just a bacteria breeding ground because you're locking that moisture in and keeping it. There's no way for it to really evaporate because it just gets held in together, because while we try to avoid that smell, all we're doing is trapping it inside, and then our cats are going in there smelling, they're digging, the same way they lick their paws and then clean their face, and it's just that bacteria is everywhere. They come up, they walk across us, they walk across everything, and yeah. So the way that the pine litter works, because you're probably wondering, well, how do you avoid this stuff? Like, it's still litter, they're still going in it. Is you put the pellets in a sifting cat litter, which I just got one off of Amazon. And the way that I use it with this litter, you actually kind of get an extra pan, because you don't really need both the way that it works out. And what you do is you put the pine pellets right on top of the sifting pan, and you put another pan underneath. So when the pine pellets get wet, so for example when your cat goes and pees on them, they actually turn to sawdust. So then about daily you pick up the top tray just a little bit to give it some space between the two, and you just shake it around, and that sawdust, well, the pellets will break up into the sawdust and it will fall into the bottom. So then your cats aren't walking in the same thing, and it gets more of a chance to evaporate. And also, I haven't really had it long enough to test this yet, but from what I've heard and from the different things that I read and videos I watched, it actually doesn't smell. It doesn't release that pee smell. It just smells like wood. And I already noticed when I have just a litter sitting there, I'll walk into a room and it smells like wood. So if you like that, that's a nice sign, because usually you don't walk into a room with a cat litter and go, this smells good. Even a clean one. Hi, Dexter. And what people will do is they'll actually just leave that bottom tray to fill up with sawdust for a while, and then they'll just throw that out, because the wood is a lot better for the environment. It's not just going to sit in a landfill for a long time. So you're avoiding that bacteria just being, so you're avoiding that all just being clumped up together and allowing that bacteria to grow, because it has access to the air and it doesn't smell like pee like you would expect it to. Now, some cats have a hard time getting used to burying their poop when they use it. For some reason, they just don't like to, but eventually they'll get used to it. But one thing with this, a lot of people will scoop their litter every day anyways, like I do. But for people with just like one cat, a lot of times they'll leave it for a couple days and then scoop it, just because they don't need to. One thing, with this litter, you will have to scoop it regularly. And there are different actual like scoops that have bigger holes cut out in them. That way the pine pellets will make their way back through. And all you have to do is you scoop the poop out daily, you just shake the sifter, and then you're good. And another thing is you actually don't have to dump out the litter at any point. You have to dump out the sawdust, but the pine pellets, because everything just gets naturally like taken out, you actually don't need to completely switch out. Some people still choose to, but unless I get a problem with it, or unless I see that there's a big reason why you should, I'm not going to. Like, all you have to do is just top off the litter. So that already makes a 40-pound bag of that last so much longer than this 40-pound bag, because I dump this cat litter out weekly, where this one I don't ever have to dump it out. So it's a little more like upkeep if you don't already just check on your cat litters every single day. But if you already do, then you're fine. Or if you're one of those people with just one cat litter, which if you have one cat, you should have 2 cat litters anyways. But that's beside the point. If you are one of those people, what some people will do is they'll just keep their cat litter in their bathroom with them. Every time they use the bathroom, they'll scoop it and they'll actually just flush it right down the toilet. Because while you can't flush clay litter, you can flush the pine pellets. Now, obviously, you want to make sure there are as few as possible, and it also doesn't stick to it as much as the clay litter would, so it's a lot easier. Now, some people who are very, very, very picky about environmental aspects, they say do not flush it, but I'm not too aware on the downsides and the upsides to that. I have so many cat litters that I'm not going to be flushing it anyways. It's easier just for me to take a grocery bag, clean it that way, throw it out right outside. As far as the upkeep goes, every time you go in the bathroom, shake it out, clean it out, you're good. Or you can even get one of those litter genies, or whatever they're called, where you can just set that next to the cat litter. Every time you go through, dump it, close it, you're good. Now you're probably thinking, okay, you barely even tried this, why are you sitting here praising it so much? One, I'm going to praise anything that's supposed to be healthier, and I spent $1.05 on a 40-pound bag of litter. That's awesome right there. But I've been in the process of trying it, and so far it seems like it's working. I haven't noticed any problems. But that is what this video is for, is to see how I feel about it beforehand, and also to see the whole process of transitioning. So now that I've talked about some of the back and forths on why you should even consider the pine litter over the clay litter, let me get into how I'm actually going to transition it, because as you probably know, cats can be very, very, very picky with their cat litter. So the way that I'm transitioning is, at the moment, we have 6 cat litter pans, because I ordered the one off Amazon and it gave me that extra one. I have the sifting litter, which is completely full of the pine pellets, like 100%. And the cats have not used that one yet, and I've had it for about 3 days. But also, like I said, we have so many other cat litter pans that they're not just going to voluntarily go use something else when they have what they're used to. So transitioning can be difficult. And then I have 2 cat litters that are completely full of this cat litter. I have one in the room with the kittens and one out here for when Dexter's just kind of roaming. And the rest of the litters, what I did was I put just a couple scoops of the pine litter at the bottom, and then I covered it with their normal litter. I did not mix it, I just left it. That way they can get used to naturally feeling that in their paws, and they get used to, oh, this is where I go because this is where I've always gone, and now this is an aspect of it. So it helps them understand that that's where they're allowed to go, and helps them get used to the feeling of that while still having the comfort of their own cat litter. Now the reason that I have one full of the other kind is just to kind of help me keep track to see when they're just voluntarily going to that one. And I keep some full of the clay litter because it's not fun when your cats decide to not use the litter. So if I'm noticing they're not using the other ones and they're just using the clay litter, I know they would have been going somewhere else in the house, and I also know that I need to take things really slow. And that is another aspect. When you are transitioning your cat for any type of litter, take it very, very slowly. Luckily, none of our cats seem to be too picky, but also 2 of them are kittens, so I don't know them too well as far as how this goes. But take it super, super slow. If you notice at any point that your cats are using it less than they were before, then go back a step. Just very slowly add more and more pine pellets. And yes, in this case, you are going to have to throw away some of the pellets if you're going to be using clay litter longer. But it's worth it to make sure your cats are comfortable, to make sure your house stays clean, and just to have a smooth transition, even though it's going to take a while. Now, I've been babbling a lot, and we haven't really gotten into this, so let me tell you where we're at now, like 3 days later. I have noticed that the litters that I layered, I've noticed that there's pine pellets up at the top now. The cats have been actually using it as a litter, which is an amazing sign. Again, so far they still have not used the full one, but it's only been 3 days. And I'm not really expecting them to just go do it if they have what they're used to. But so far it's been really good. And the way that I am storing this litter is we have like this like mini like garbage can looking tin. I don't really know what it's called. Someone gave us some dog food in it before, and so now I have it filled with those pellets. I just have a scoop, and that's just how I'm going to use it. That way I don't have like the bag just sitting around like I do this one. I know this has been a lot of back and forth, this has been a lot of babbling, but there's a lot of information, and you really want to make sure you do what's best for your cats. If at any point, or if after all of this you're finding out that your cats really don't like it, that's going to stress your cats out more. And really, while I talk about these back and forths and everything, I'm not saying it's bad to use clay litter. I'm just saying there's better options. So if one of our cats ends up not liking it, I'm still going to keep one pan for the clay litter, because either way it'll be better just in general. So I will keep updating you on how this goes. So far I'm really excited, which is weird to be excited about cat litter, but even when I was posting about this, other people are getting excited about finding out how this works and anything that can be better, like I said, for the environment, for your cats, and for your wallet. So I will keep you updated. Okay, so it is day 5 and I'm heading out really quick, but I just emptied the cat litters, and because I do that pretty much just every morning now, has been working okay. And lost my train of thought. Oh, and the kittens and Dexter were doing really good with starting to use the mixed litter. They still haven't used the full one, so I added just a full scoop more to each of the mixed litters, and we'll see how that works. So it is the morning of day 9, and last night I really wanted to cuddle with my kitty, and Dexter usually roams the house at night, but I wanted to cuddle him, so I trapped him in the room with me. He's really good at if he needs to go, but if he refuses to use the litter, he'll wake me up, so I knew I could try this with him. So what I did was I put one of the litter pans that was just the pine litter in my room to see if he would use it, and I woke up and he peed in it. So that made me happy because that shows that he doesn't completely refuse to use it. So yeah, just a little update. So far, none of the kittens have used the all pine litter boxes, but they're doing really good with the mixed litter, and I'm slowly adding more and more. So it is day 13 of trying the cat litter, and I've noticed the kittens have kind of slowed down in using the mixed litter, but also I've had that other litter mixed in for quite a while now, and even though I've been cleaning it, it's still going to capture that smell. So today what I did is I just dumped all of the ones that were mixed. One extra little thing to note is, at least the way that I'm doing this, like the transitioning phase, is you are going to go through that 40-pound bag pretty quickly. Like I probably have like a quarter of it left, but that's just because I'm throwing it out and I'm putting so much in there because if you'll probably notice, there's a lot of litter in each of these pans, and cats don't need a lot of litter. They really just need enough to dig in. But I've been putting a lot in because I'll add like another scoop every time I need to. So I completely dumped them, and then the ones that were all the pine litter, I just sifted them out, as you'll see on the screen. I just sifted them out and put those in a new litter. So I originally only got one of the actual like sifting litters because I was testing it out, and now I'm kind of wishing I would have gotten more, but I also don't want to buy more. So what I'm doing for now is I'm going back to how the sifting litter is originally intended to be used, where you have both pans and the sifting pan. So instead of using the sifting pan in one as a litter itself, because that way now I can go in and I can sift them just as is. Like I'll have an empty pan that I can sift into, dump into, instead of just being stuck, if that makes sense at all. You'll see what I mean in the footage. But yeah, and eventually what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to go buy some cheap pans and just drill holes into them instead of buying a whole bunch of the sifting pans, because usually you have to buy the entire litter for that, like the entire setup, and I have 6 cat litters. I don't need more, at least not as of right now. But for now, I'm just going to do that. I'll just keep sifting them all into one spot, which means I'll probably have to dump it more often, but that's fine. And yeah, I completely dumped everything. We're still not to the point where I can completely like make it all pine litter, but as of right now, I don't have any that are just the old litter. So we'll see how that works. Today's the first day of me doing that, so I'll tell you how that goes if they kind of start going backwards, but I haven't noticed them using the ones that's only the old litter too often. Like they've been doing pretty good with the mixed ones, so hopefully that will work. I will keep you updated on this very long adventure, but it will be worth it if it works. So it is 1:19 in the morning right now, and I walked out of my room to get some food because, you know, chubby child, and the entire house, and I mean the entire house, smelled so bad. Like, got to the point where I was turning the lights on, I was walking around looking, thinking that one of the dogs, like, pooped in the house. It is horrible. I was like plugging my nose. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Turns out Dexter just decided to take a big one in the cat litter, and this cat litter is closed inside one of those little like cabinets for cat litters. So there's just a tiny little opening, and he didn't bury it, and holy crap, no pun intended, the whole entire house smelled so bad. I'm literally even opened like the toilet. I'm like trying to see where this is coming from. So there's a little heads up. When I said that cats don't always like to bury it, wasn't kidding. And there's not like the extra chemicals in, or whatever the heck is in it. There's not the extra like, there's no clay litter to get stuck to it to kind of trap the smell in. If they don't bury it, it smells and it just keeps smelling. So that is something to keep in mind, but I just took the cat scooper. I'm too lazy to get a bag and clean it like completely empty right now. I'll just do it in the morning like I usually do. But I just covered up some of the pine litter, and already the smell's going away in the house. But I walked out and I was like, oh, it's bad. So there's a little update on that. This is technically day 16 now, but yeah. Okay, so it is day 17, and I'm going to wrap up this video here because while we still have a little bit of transitioning to do, I'm in a place where I'm confident that the cats are going to like the pine litter and are going to continue to use it. Because the one thing I was waiting on is for them to start using the new litter, the sifting pan. And once I mixed that with some of their pine litter from the other cat litters that they previously used, and once I put a tiny bit of the clay litter in there, I think once it got their smell and just being familiar, they started to use it. So now they are using all the cat litter pans, all of them except for that new one have only pine litter, and they've been using them really good. And the one that has the clay litter, again, it's just a tiny little bit. But yeah, they're using it really good. I have almost used the entire 40-pound bag of the pine litter that I got, so I'm going to need to get another one. But it's still way cheaper than if I would have been doing all of these cat litters with the clay litter. I probably, within this time, would have needed to buy 2 of those, and that is very quick bad math. I think that's like 4 times the price of buying the one that I did. So what I ended up doing is I just took some of the normal like dog waste bags, and I just ended up scooping into that, and I'm going to get theirs some like biodegradable ones, because I realized scooping the way that I usually do kind of cuts out the environmentally good aspect of the pine litter, because I'm throwing away a plastic bag every single time. So I'm going to get some biodegradable ones because they're super cheap. I'll probably just get them off of Chewy, and that way every morning I can just scoop into that, call it good. Sift, I could just dump that right into my normal trash, and it'll all be good. I know this has been a long video, but I really wanted to document the process of transitioning and just making sure it worked. So I definitely recommend trying this. Again, take it really slow. because it'll be worth it in the end, and you really don't want to stress your cats out because this is very new to them. And my cats, they still don't like to bury in it, hence the other day when I walked out and the whole house smelled bad, it's because it was not buried. So I'm definitely going to continue to use the pine litter. I love it, and I really hope that this video was helpful to you guys if you stuck it out to the end. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.